Hello, one and all, and welcome to the Champ 3 podcast. It's where the casters, the gameplay, and even the hot takes have a tendency to be Champ 3. How are your ranks, by the way, everybody?
Unranked currently.
Okay, I know that feel. That's the caster vibe right there. Mitch?
Yeah.
I let Vod go first for a reason. Hearthstone Champ 2, peak GC, but I was hard carried. So I love this podcast because it really reflects me and my skill and my thinking level and everything that's Mitch related.
I love it. Again, folks, it's the Champ 3 podcast. Kendo Slice here, your normal host, alongside Vodible, as well as MitchMozey, and we're going to be covering North America Collegiate Rocket League from top to bottom. And we want to get right into it, folks. Reaction. Week number 1 of play. And Mitch, I brought you in for a reason. I'm so excited about the fact that Mexican representation is here. And on day number 1, Wednesday night, they showed up.
Oh yeah, they did big time. And by the way, this does not exist. I was trying to like symbolize the Rams. What are the horns? And this is not a thing. That's a college, by the way, from my hometown. They don't do this at all. But it would look really cool on broadcast, wouldn't it? They did show up. They showed up. Probably it's that broadcast buff that they got because unfortunately for them, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but the record is not great at the moment. But what it mattered most, when the lights were the brightest, when it was prime time for the Borregos, they did what they needed to do. And golly, they went 3-0. Are you kidding me? We were freaking dancing, singing in the booth. We're having a blast over there in the Spanish broadcast.
I actually have the clip of y'all singing and dancing. So we're gonna show that off right now, live on the screen. Oh, well, maybe I'm not going to. There we are. Here we are.
Fools, dog, fools.
El balón que se eleva, los chicos que no van a dejarlo bajar. ¡Ay! Cante del cielito, cielito. Canta y no llores, porque cantando sale cielito lindo los corazones.
Oh my. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, ay, ay.
What a time.
A blast, dude. A blast. A blast. And we were talking about this. I think we had a little debrief session. I don't know if it was right after or the following day, but we were talking about the attention that this is bringing to the Mexican scene. Like we got, not only did we got one of the best teams in the Mexican scene right now, representing the whole entire nation, but at the same time, we are getting noticed by the mainstream. We are getting, because of clips like that and performances like those, we're getting tweeted by the main College Carvel account, and we're getting recognized. And I love the shout outs from the mainstream broadcast and talking about how we got the Spanish broadcast and we got the Spanish community involved. And honestly, it would have been a little bit of heartbreak if Borrego did not go through the second qualifier because they failed to do so in the fall one.
Oh,
but
man.
it was the stars aligned, dude. The planet said, here you go. Let's have the first team go through as soon as we got the Spanish broadcast going. And it was just perfect timing. And I think having the 3-0 sweep was just the best way to cap it off.
Absolutely. And I do have to ask, though, given the fact they started out 3-0 on the stream, we got to focus a little bit on the other things as well. They did lose to Boise. 2-3, a really good effort against Utah. Mitch, if you had to give them a grade, how do you think Borregos did in their first week of CRL play?
Oh, I don't want to be biased at all. It's so hard to be not biased, but you're going to be with me on that when we get to the northern part of NA. But I want to say I'm not good at grading systems, by the way, when it comes to the USA. I'm a 0 to 100, not a
That's fair. That's fair.
B and A. But I think I'm looking at what is passing 70 C. That's right? I want to say C. I mean, you're not doing your best work right now, but you're definitely putting a heck of a fight up 3-0. Speak for itself. You were on the receiving end of the sweep to open up your season, but then you went the distance. Game 5, you gotta have short-term memory for those. And if that's Game 5 you lose after sweeping another team, you can shrug those off and you can dust yourself up and get back up on your feet or your hoofs if you're the Borregos and keep on going. But I think it's passing. I think they're passing right now. Of course, it's not the dream scenario of going undefeated. Nobody's ever gonna think about that when you start a season. But 1 and 2 is nothing to be ashamed of, especially if you lost a game 5. You sweep one team, you receive a sweep. I think they're in the perfect position to just make a run for it this entire spring split.
Vodible, I have to ask reaction to that. What is your grade for Borregos in the first week?
Yeah, I'd have to agree, especially because a lot of teams are still getting into their comfort zone. This is the first time for Borregos to be in this kind of a league play format as well. As far as I'm understanding, I believe this is also the first time that the Enjoy League is starting up too, if they are a part of that. So seeing them play in this kind of a format, getting that first win, crucial because that gets all the fans in initially, and then going so close to Utah. And also, Cal Poly, they've been in the league for such a long time as a school. They also went to Game 5 and lost to Utah. So Utah, they're just doing really good for themselves. So I'd definitely say a passing grade like you did, Mitch.
Well, we do have a lot of notable starts. The first week, getting started in the CRL is one of the most important parts of making it through. For teams like Columbia, it's usually when they start on an undefeated streak and never get any sort of challenge their way.
True.
But for the teams that are right there on the cusp at the end of the season, these weeks are just as important as those penultimate ones, week 4 and 5, respectively. Were there any teams that stood out to you as far as notability, Mitch, here in week number 1?
I disclosed this in the green room. I'll disclose it in front of the people because the people need to know. I'm getting familiar with CRL. Of course, Liquipedia. Shout out to everybody involved volunteering, and they've given me such an opportunity to get involved with anything that I was not there in chat or there on Twitch. And Liquipedia is doing a great job keeping me informed. But I was not familiar with CRL. I was a casual. And now I get to be a part of the front seat, and I get to be a part of watching everything from the first point of view. Without much experience, I can say that I enjoyed how the matches went. I don't think we got, and I can say this with a little bit of bias, I am honest, but it's not that it was not good Rocket League, but it was a sweep. The sweep win by Borregos was the only less Rocket League of a match, or the bottom in that category, because it was a sweep. If you're not a Borregos fan, you're gonna be like, sweep, okay, I should have maybe not watched that. But everything else, quality. It was 3-1. We went to game 5. We went to like 4 overtimes in a row. And if I were to pick anything in particular that surprised me, was the resiliency out of Ball State and the head-to-head to open up the broadcast with Akron Gold and Akron Blue.
Yes.
Those probably are the matchups that really caught my eye, and I said, holy crap, I missed a lot of CRL. Like, I should have been watching this for the longest. I'm not too sure why I didn't.
Absolutely, and I would agree with you completely. I actually had that in my notes because of how dominant a start for Ball State it looks to be. It was fairly good here in the early on. Another one that kind of piqued my interest, is kind of a surprise to me, Penn State. We'll keep it in the States for colleges. They start out 0-2, and it would be one thing if it was 0-2 against a couple of extremely notable teams, and they were notable teams. And Northwood
I was about
Blue
to say, Kendo, what are you talking about?
Stockton, but they did not get but a single win in that, and that's a little thing. It's a little bit worrisome for me.
It's a lot to worry about, I'd say, for Penn State. But as you said as well, the two teams that they faced off against, Northwood Blue and Stockton. Stockton, this isn't the Stockton we saw before. Tony Pizza, Anthony 8 Pizza, is here to stay and to play for this roster, and he's been popping off for them as well. The way that they've been performing has been immaculate so far, and they've done so well, even against Indian River State College. They beat them there, talking about Stockton specifically. And Indian River State College, remind you, they got 3rd out of all of CRL last semester, and it's the same roster.
Yeah, 3-1 Indian River, 3-1 against Penn State. And I put a lot of good on Penn State's name because what they have done ever since CRL Worlds and the run that it took for them to get there has been very impressive. And Coconut has looked like a leader on that team, despite all that happened leading up to CRL Worlds.
Oh, man.
So, like, mental fortitude right there to just stick with it, and then on top of it, continue to be a leader, continue to develop themselves. That's the type of stuff you love to see. But for Stockton, a 2-1, a lot of good. Maybe a little bit concerned about a Kennesaw 2-3 loss, because
Kennesaw's looking good.
Yeah, Kennesaw is looking very good. But at the same time, if you're going to 3-1 IRSC and you're going to 3-1 Penn State, I feel like there should be a series win there.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, the funny thing about that, too, is like I had IRSC versus Kennesaw State on my stream the other day, and it went all the way to Game 5 overtime, back and forth between that entire series, and you could have flipped a coin, and it would have been either of those two teams coming out on top. So really keeping it close against that kind of a roster for Stockton bodes well for them, because no doubt both of those teams are going to be competing for top 8 spots this semester.
Absolutely. And of course, we got manager Valkyrie in the chat right now going off about Stockton. Love to see it. Love the love given as well in the chat, and support for the product that we got going down here. A couple other surprising results for me. UT Arlington, also same category as Penn State, 0-2, and yet another team with just a single win. Here's where it's concerning to me. They took the L against Long Beach. This was a team that we thought maybe podcast top 3.
Oh man.
Oh no.
Oh man. that was on my stream too, and yeah, none of us expected Long Beach to get that victory, but that's just UTA when it comes to like their regular season matches. Like sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. And I feel like Samba, I know he's listening some of these times, he likes to troll a lot, and that's what happened in that series a couple times.
Going through some of these additional results, anything else show up to you, Mitch?
Oh, well, let me look at my notes real quick. wouldn't that be something lovely? You know what? There's something so lovely, and this just brings me back. I've been doing anything related to esports for 2+ years now, and this is bringing me back to that first baby steps of getting into a scene and recognizing names and recognizing talent, and it's like this unbeatable aura of them coming into the series and just taking what's theirs, which is the W, and they're not taking no for an answer. And I feel that from a lot of those teams. I feel like I'm wrong most of the time, but it just feels like from not week 1, but broadcast number 1, you can already tell who is just as confident as one can be, especially in Rocket League, which is a 90% mental game. But I feel I see a lot of Indian River praise, and then I look at the match and I go like, well, they're fast. Like it's not something that you can fix mid-match, and it's not something that you can try and strategize in between the series with a tactical timeline. It's something that you got to prepare for with weeks, if not months in advance, and it's something that I'm finding a lot of joy in. I'm finding a lot of joy in discovering these teams to beat. And we, in the Spanish broadcast, of course, we are a little bit blindsided with history because it's 32 teams with a lot of people and a lot of moving parts. But it's so fun to throw out predictions and say, you know what? Akron Blue, Akron Gold. I think Akron's going to take it. and then watch this one be one of the best series of the evening and watching it be
somehow. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's so rewarding to find just a little bit of surprise in every single series. It brings me back a lot to those initial esports days. But man, I'm having a blast. West is definitely my forte at the moment because of Borregos. I'm struggling because they are struggling. Like it's just
it's gotten weaker. It's gotten weaker for sure since the last semester because they've had some transfers go on, some people graduate. This is the last semester for most of the people at UTA as well, and some of the other colleges too. I think for Columbia College, one of the players is also graduating this semester too. So a lot of these teams, this is the last time you're going to be seeing them, which is going to be crazy looking at the next semester because East is getting even stronger with all these crazy recruitments going on.
Oh yeah, and this is probably the stupidest comparison you're ever gonna hear someone make about Rocket League. But I was a theater kid, if you can tell by my
What?
He was in theater and he was a kid. It's one of those things that I can relate to. Like we had one of those stars like about to graduate. He's about to take this final like SAT or whatever it is you take to graduate. It's I forget what it's called. Whatever. He was about to graduate and the directors were like, we gotta create a masterpiece, like the best of send-offs ever, right? So you gotta have like this huge moment and take advantage of it, and then you put great pieces around it. I feel the same way with how the storylines develop. With we're gonna have one of our best players move on, and it's great to hear, but it's gonna be a big hit to our department. Gotta make a great team and a great split out of this one because we're not gonna have this same chance ever again. Make sure you exploit it and take it all the way. And I'm not too sure. I haven't talked to the Borregos. We were supposed to have a carne asada before the season started. That kind of
Still haven't.
Yeah, no, we're on our way. We need to celebrate, dude. But I don't know how much time they have left in Tecnológico Monterrey. I don't know if they're second year. I think it's a 4-year college degree over there. So hopefully it's a long one because it's one of the best, if not the best team in Mexico right now. And it's unfortunate that probably because one is a generation higher or a generation lower, that team will have to part ways. And I never thought about that story.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's heartbreaking.
Mercy. And I do want to go really quick with one last bullet point to our reaction of week number 1. And that is taking a look and peek up north. For what I find a little bit surprising, of the Canadian teams represented, the team that has had the best showing in week 1 is Alberta. 2-1. Valleyfield, 0-2. They start off with a loss against Rochester and Seton Hall, another team that we thought had, the stuff. Laval, we're able to get a win on IRSC, which is good, but they also ended up going up against both Northwoods. They had a terrible first week as far as the schedule went. Strength of schedule, number 1. Exactly.
That's true. Yeah, because that's another one that we had on my stream, and it was crazy because it was me and Billy that were casting that one. So we had 2 Canadian casters, not really rooting for the Canadian team, but it worked out that way either way. Shout out to Slayer who got that all set up for us, though, from IRSC, who's been very grateful for him to have us stream their matches there. But yeah, it went the distance. I mean, that was a very intense series, to say the least. It almost went to 5 games specifically, but it was like overtimes, very close between them. But Laval, they were hungry after facing both Northwoods back-to-back in the same day. They had a little bit of a breather, then they came back there. So I'm excited to see how they do in the rest of the semester. But they got arguably the top, the top 2 teams in the East, technically, outside of Fisher, that they already took on in that first week. So it's only up from there, basically.
Absolutely. We move on to the next portion here. Got to talk about big matchups. We've talked about the past. Let's talk about the future. The big matchups for week number 2. And I'm looking at the B stream to start. I see Penn State versus Rochester. And I asked the question, are these records reverse?
I know, right? Going into it, you wouldn't think that.
I don't know how many people had Rochester going 2-0 in the first week, just to start things off, or Penn State. If you had both of those on your bingo card, definitely DM me a good place to buy some sort of ticket. We won't
exactly.
Ticket.
No value specifically.
Yeah, no inherent value underwriting here. That one surprises me a little bit. I think that one's going to be an interesting streamer on the B stream. Do you have any on the B stream, Mitch, that's coming up that you might be interested in? Or any matchup in week 2 that you'd be interested in?
Let's see, baby. Give me some juice. I definitely want to see where Akron Gold goes after the last week matchup. I lived in Texas for 3 years. I think I'm hitting like the Rocket League community right in the heart. I think a lot of the Rocket Leaguers or Rocketeers, as I like to say, are Texas based, and I'm fond of Texas Tech. And it was tough seeing them not be able to finish the job against Alberta because they were strong starters, not as strong finishers. But I want to see where Texas Tech goes with that. Of course, I got to support Monterey, and I love I love that we're also facing like I feel like
you're getting revenge for the other
Yeah.
Mexico team that North Texas knocked out right at the end. They had to reverse sweep them to win. It was crazy.
My heart is a little bit torn, but I gotta go with my hometown. My hometown with the heart is fully there, not just a percentage, but that one should be fun as heck. And then if I'm looking at the A stream, Ball State gotta be something to watch for sure. I feel for Acre and Blue because Indian River is gonna be a tough ass matchup. Excuse my French.
No, you're fine.
I'm feeling Canadian.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I got my French out. Colombia is gonna be a tough watch. Well, not for Colombia, but for Poly. Prayers out there. And then Arlington, I need that bounce back. And North Texas, I don't think is gonna allow it as well.
Texas Showdown.
Yeah.
It should be a great week too. Now that I look at it, I love the Master Sheet, by the way.
Yeah.
I love this guy breaking a little bit of the fourth wall, like the Kool-Aid man. I feel like this is probably the most prep work I've not only had to do, but had done for the production. Like we get Master Sheet after Master Sheet, and we get this whole schedule, and it's making everything so much easier. I love Wikipedia, by the way. Everyone who contributes and volunteers. But man, it's a different beast out here when you get like, oh, here's your doc. And you get like links, hyperlink cells, and you get names and POC. And whoa, like it just makes my life so much easier. And now that I get the full week 2 schedule, it's not only gonna be a great blast casting B stream, but then watching A stream because there's a lot also on the line. And then unfortunately for the Spanish broadcast, we only do Wednesdays for now, at least for this split. Hopefully we can change that for the next fall. But I am there. I'm hyped up in chat for A stream, and I feel like it's an opportunity. I know it's a growing community in the Spanish side of things, but I get the opportunity of hosting on Wednesday and just balling out on Thursday and just be like, bro, let's go. Like I'm a fan now. Like I can watch instead of having to alternate an alt tab. And so Thursday should be also a great day for CRL.
If you had to throw out a prediction, Monterey goes up against North Texas. Looks to be one of the last games on the B stream Wednesday night. How are you feeling about the Borregos' chances against a powerhouse in the West?
I am going to say Game 5 dub. I think for some reason Borregos is gonna be like a very black and white team. I feel like because I watched them qualifiers very closely, I feel like they're either on their best behavior or they're not on it. That exact 5-game series or a 3 top seed they're getting swept. It's very one way or the other, no middle of the spectrum. And that one is gonna be, we're gonna see a lot of mirrored results for Monterey in their season. They've already been swept. They've already been beat in Game 5. I think this is a Game 5 victory and chance to redeem themselves. And I think that's gonna be a pattern for the remainder of the season.
It's also going to be nice, too, because Texas is so close to Mexico as well. So they have better ping, I'm sure, compared to some of the other matches that are out there.
The hard taco shell versus the soft taco shell. Like, it should be one to remember.
Amazing.
I love it.
That got real. It'd be even better if we were hosting that in El Paso. You know what I mean?
Yes, dude. Imagine. Oh, man. They're going to be freaking out about the Alamo again. No, chill, dude. We're only here for the W. We don't want anything else.
Want to focus in a little bit on the A stream. It looks like all the stream matches, at least for now, have been solidified. And I'm looking down this docket. Matches are always subject to change, folks. That's the fun thing.
Yeah, always an asterisk when we talk about these matches.
Until day of and about 2 hours before, these matches have an opportunity to change. Until Game 2, you never know who's not going to be there.
I mean, there might be another snowstorm in Texas. Who knows?
Exactly.
Oof.
But on the A stream, that first matchup looking so good to me.
Yeah.
2-1
so
Stockton against a 1-1 West Virginia, and I see this as a true test for this new Stockton roster. You're looking at a game that it probably has heavy dividends on the back end of the season. This may be the rub match between these two teams and their ranking. And if I had to guess, they're most likely going to be fighting over a top 5 spot.
Oh, very likely, just based on the way that they've been both performing so far. But WVU, I feel like they have so much potential They didn't live up to it last semester. Like looking at the fall, they were 6th place when a lot of people were saying they should be top 3 specifically, and they just kind of struggled throughout the majority of it. But they did decently in the playoffs. They didn't really do as well as they would have liked to. So I'm sure they're coming back with a vengeance this time, especially with eyes on the prize being the World Championship, because a lot of teams looking for that, and specifically a lot of teams that were there last time, they're not making reappearances, at least for now, depending on how LCQs go.
Completely agree with you there. And yeah, as I look down the line, like Seton Hall, Ball State, Indian River, Akron Blue,
that's going to be a good one.
Columbia, Cal Poly. I highlight that one just due in part to, it's when you think Cal Poly has no chance at all.
Did they beat them last time?
Come out of nowhere.
I gotta remember that they were the one who did.
I think that was the team that beat them.
It was. Cal Poly beat them in Game 5 last semester. That's what it was. I knew it was like them and UNLV who beat them. And that's, Columbia College are not going to be doing any funny business in that series. But if they lose it again, I'm going to go crazy.
It's unreal at that point. You got the world enders in Cal Poly. And then, of course, UTA, NT, that is always a very big rivalry match. The teams, the colleges 30 minutes away from each other, being in Arlington and Denton respectively. You draw the big old Dallas-Fort Worth triangle, and you're in there.
That's going to be a good one. I mean, that's always a good matchup. In North Texas, they've pretty regularly beaten UTA in a lot of those matches as well. Just kind of looking back at the last semester too. They lost to UTD at that time as well, but UTA actually last semester beat UNT 3-1, so it's been kind of back and forth between those two. And UNT, I mean, that school's been in CRL since it started, and what do they have? They're like 100th league play match last semester, so now they're just continuing as many more matches as they can have as a school, and they're continuing to qualify, so something's working there.
It's amazing to think that you can have that kind of longevity in any sort of organized play, and UNT, despite being I don't want to say a revolving door, but they have done a great job of doing what college is supposed to do, graduating really good student athletes in the esport realm and bringing up stars. You can go back through, I think, all the way back to CRL 1, where you had Pac. Oh, Pac was so awesome. The mustache. Give it to that is so much character in one mustache. That's all I'm going to say on that. But yes, a lot of longevity goes into UNT, and they're going to be, that may end up being their first game of the season if they don't get one in today or tomorrow. The way they start, going to be very important. Vod, any other matchups in week 2 that you think are worth highlighting, and maybe you want to throw a prediction out on one of them?
Well, we do need to talk about Penn State and Rochester, because that one went to Game 5. I believe Penn State won it, and that might have been one of the matches for them to get a leg up over them to actually qualify for the championships for the Eastern Conference, or the Eastern Conference playoffs, excuse me, because Penn State, they went 8-7, Rochester went 6-9, so that could have easily changed their position there. So this is going to be a huge series for both of those two schools, especially with Rochester doing so well out the gate with the way that they've been performing. They're looking good since they started last semester. Now into this one, they've just gotten even more consistent. But prediction, though, I think Rochester is going to take this one. I mean, they did not the greatest as they could have last time, but they've been surprising a lot of teams. It's got to go to Game 5, though, if it does go to that point.
I'm looking at Akron Gold, and of course you want to make sure that we follow after you for the action that's going to be going down. Kennesaw State, I believe, against Akron Gold.
Yep.
Going to be on your stream after this podcast. You don't want to miss that one. That'll be interesting because Akron Gold starting out 0-2. If they go 0-3, they are greeted by a terrible schedule.
Fisher.
In week number 2. Stockton, Indian River, and Fisher. If they go into that week 2 slog 0-3, I can't express enough. Akron Gold against Kennesaw, must win.
Oh, yeah. 100%. I mean, but if Kennesaw does win this, that's going to be huge for them too, because they'd already have 3 wins under their belt in the second week at the start of it too, against some really strong teams that are out there. So if Kennesaw State can get that victory, that's going to almost cement themselves as like a runner up for that like top 8 spots that we're competing for this semester, which I feel like you could flip a coin and have any number of teams be heads or tails, and that's going to be what the end result is at the end of these 5 weeks of league play.
Mitch, I know you've seen Boise State just covering some of the action last week in week number 1 on the A stream. They ended up going up against San Diego State, which was a surprising loss, if I remember correct. They go up against North Texas as well in week number 2. What's going on with Boise State, do you think, after seeing them in week 1?
Oof, I think. Oh man, I'm not a fan of the Broncos because they treated my Borrego so poorly. But you cannot deny the bright blue and orange. Like it's something that you've always want to see thrive, no matter where you see that Bronco or logo. Nonetheless, looking at the track history so far, at least in the spring, taking a sweep W against a team that's so inconsistent is not something that can secure you W's throughout the rest of the season. And I think they're in the toughest possible spot for any team in any league play, especially round robin, because if you are inconsistent yourself, it's so much harder to know what you need to fix, what you need to prep, what you need to analyze and fix. And that's going to be probably their own journey by themselves. And that's the hardest one because it's off camera, off the pitch. It's analyzing yourself and look yourself in the mirror. Hey, this is what we need to do. And probably look at it like baby steps, one step at a time. This next game, let's focus on A, next one on B, and then see it all the way to the bottom of the alphabet, because I don't think, one, you have the time to look at the entire set of letters, or 2, they're going to give you any time to fix that. Even if you had the month-long season, it's really going to be stick and move. And right now they've landed some shots. Some have hit, many have missed. They lost 0-3 and 2-3 respectively in the last 2 series against San Diego. And let me fix my mouse real quick. and let's see what they've already faced Texas. Let's see what they can get out of North this time. But I'm not too sure if you can go in there with the best mentality when you are adjusting. That I think that's gotta be their biggest issue right now. Short-term memory is spoken about in our Spanish broadcast, and we say that because we know how big it is in Rocket League. If you keep thinking about your 1-2 record, if you keep thinking you get swept, if you keep thinking that you were this close to being 3-0, you're going to start tripping yourself out. And you really need to focus on what's in front of you and your goal for that game, whatever strategy it is. Because I don't think if you look, I'd rather have an O and whatever number of games I can lose, or a number of we can win an O record, instead of having a very win one, get one back, lose one, get one back, which I think is Borrego is exactly what they're going to do. But I'd rather have
as long as they get top 8, that's all that matters.
Bro, give me top 8 Borregos, please. Boise, why are you ruining us into a negative record? But yeah, I feel like Boise has a lot of work to do. I just hope that we can see it this week on the TRL.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how they fare against North Texas due to those early results, 1 and 2. Especially when you think about how they went undefeated for so long in the first portion of the split.
Yeah.
But I want to shift gears really quick and start talking about some Canadian Collegiate Rocket Soccer. Did I say it right?
Yes, that's correct.
Collegiate Rocket Soccer, newly rebranded from OCRS.
Yeah.
So, Vodible, my understanding is you were covering it. Tell me a little about what was going on in the OCRS.
So this is the first time that Canada has actually had direct spots going into the CRL World's LCQ. Last go around, we had a couple different leagues that were doing it that were just kind of North America based, but we had 2 spots that were granted to the top 2 teams who made it to the grand finals for the OCRS. There is a $1,500 prize pool. double elimination bracket across 2 different days. We had East and West. Only 4 teams from the West, unfortunately, but they almost made top 3. Alberta was the only CRL team participating because the Quebec teams didn't really realize, talking about Valleyfield and Laval, that they could play. So they didn't play because it would have easily been probably Laval versus Valleyfield at the end of the day there. Nonetheless, St. Clair, they were 1 step away from qualifying for CRL this semester. Well, they took the thing ultimately, got the $900 plus some Logitech keyboards, and got one of those LCQ spots. So potentially can see them back, making a run into the CRL World Championship for another appearance there. And University of Montreal, they had a non-official team that just formed together, and they got 2nd place and almost took a series against St. Clair to get into that grand final. So they looked really good. TMU, I know Seb, that's his alma mater, and he's a big fan of them. They got 3rd place and like $240 themselves. So Canadian Rocket League is getting a lot better and a lot more competitive. Some of the mainstays like Sioux College, we haven't really seen many rosters for, but having OCRS, which used to just be Ontario Collegiate Rocket League, rebrand to Canadian Collegiate Rocket Soccer, makes it so it's much more inclusive for all of Canada for more events that they're trying to run in the future, and that's what it's all about.
I love the fact that you low-key covered the rebranding reasoning.
Yeah.
Because teams outside of Ontario, we're not sure if we're supposed to be in here.
Exactly.
Canadian Collegiate Rocket Soccer going a long way, and St. Clair and Montreal going to be representing the org as the last chance qualifier slots. I gotta ask though, St. Clair, are we starting to see maybe a little bit of resurgence? Have they solidified a starting 3?
Yes, yeah, they're starting 3 from. I actually have it right here. My notes from the series that they played. So it was Ramen, Spoods, and Christian. Christian came from Sioux College, was the starter for that school, and unfortunately took the great talent from that school, but worked out well for St. Clair. They were so close to qualifying for CRL. It was Seton Hall who knocked them down. I think it might have been Game 5 actually, and it was really just Seton Hall being Seton Hall, where sometimes they're really good and sometimes they're really bad. Well, that time they were really good, unfortunately, for St. Clair, so they couldn't qualify that go around. But St. Clair, they've just been dominating the CCA Opens for the most part from what I've seen too. And they feel very confident of being one of the few teams making it through the LCQ and competing with some of those teams who don't have just a guaranteed spot based on how this league play is going to go for CRL.
Then you throw in the fact Montreal beat Alberta. I put that down as a little bit notable.
Yep.
Of these
Alberta was the 4th seed. They should have been the 4th seed according to the people competing in this. UBC, they also knocked them down in the lower bracket. And UBC, again, another one of those teams kind of similar to Seton Hall, where sometimes they just pop off like crazy and sometimes they just do really bad in the qualifiers. Well, unfortunately, they just did really bad. But we're now seeing more parity at the top with some of those teams that are out there. And it would have been interesting to see Laval and Valleyfield compete. But unfortunately, they didn't realize that they could compete at the time. So we easily got our LCQ teams. But even then, Alberta, people into the community saying that they were the 4th seed out of all these different teams, bodes well for St. Clair going through that LCQ. And even Montreal, now that they got one of that spots too.
So the question kind of becomes, do we start worrying about seeing St. Clair, Montreal, and maybe a little TMU in the future of CRL? Is
potentially?
I know we have to worry about Montreal and St. Clair as far as the LCQ spots.
Yeah.
Do you think there is a legitimate run that could happen from either of those two teams?
Definitely from St. Clair. Montreal, I feel like, just needs to fix some consistency issues. But I mean, all of the Quebec teams that are out there have just been elevating their gameplay every single semester. And I know even if it doesn't happen this go around, maybe next time, I know Laval is basically bringing back the duo from old Valleyfield that was at the World Championships, which is Broken in Vegas and Tekos are going to be playing together in the fall. So that's going to be crazy, even if none of these teams do well enough to make it into the World Championship.
Okay. We're going to move on to the final segment here, and it is one of my favorite because it gives everyone the opportunity to be as opinionated, as hot as they would like to be. We're going to start with Mitch. and we're going to give you an opportunity to spit lava. MitchMozey, you have a hot take for week number 2.
I'm looking at the heavens because I need a little bit of grace down here because I think like I'm playing devil's advocate. I think I'm doing my worst work out here with what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have a very back and forth. He's talking about Borregos. We're gonna have a very back and forth record with Borregos, and they're not gonna make the cut farther than just being involved in league play. But we're gonna see a lot of them in Seattle in the future, especially because Mexico also got 2 spots in the last chance qualifier. We got the Mexican Open, the El Alberto Universitario, this exact month actually. So with their league play performance, we're gonna be disappointed, but I believe that they're gonna go all the way into the World Championship LCQ. I'm not entirely sure what they're gonna do there. I just know that I'm happy we got that clip week 1. Like that's
the highlight for now.
Yeah, I think that's our peak, and I want to be wrong, but I've learned that I got to jinx them, and I got to go against the current. If not, I'm gonna be even more disappointed. If I am disappointed and then right, I feel a little bit better. So I just say that it's gotta be downhill from here. I don't think they're gonna pick it back up. I think it's gonna be very difficult for them to find a rhythm, especially because you've played time and time again in qualifiers, but never in league play. And in qualifiers, you face people who mostly don't make the cut, and then you run into a wall with the teams that very consistently do. And this time, you're going and you face the wall every single week because it seems that they've all made it. So it's teams that have the credentials that also have a valid reason to be here. I don't think it's gonna go anywhere but down, but I am hopeful for the LCQ and the World Championship.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Mitch.
This
is the opportunity. This is the opportunity to have the most scalding take.
Okay.
Monterey goes up against Columbia College.
Yeah.
Ooh.
This week.
Okay.
Who wins and what's the scoreline?
Oh man, this is gonna sound. I'm gonna contradict myself. I am. You know what I'm gonna say because I'm gonna contradict myself. I think it's Borregos. I think,
Let's
especially my city. I think we have a tendency of becoming very small against teams that we should be winning against, and very big for the bright moments. And broadcast buff, I said it earlier. It's something. It's whenever we have to show up, we show up. Whenever we are supposed to win, we don't win nothing. And I think it's something internal, something mental, something that I can bet my 10 pesos that I'm fiddling with right now. That it's something very Mexican-y. Like I think if you feel like you got it, you don't got it. And if you feel like you are being pushed away or denied, or you're the underdog. Once you feel like you're the underdog, you can eat the world. And I think that's what Borregos is trying to do. The thing is, though, that once you talk about Borregos and, it's going to be an even matchup, we flop. If you say, they're going to eat Borregos alive, bro, prepare. Because I think that's what fuels us, especially in those big moments and shining lights. I think you can make them as bright as possible, but they are not going to fold. It's just that when you turn them off, we get comfortable, and then we start sucking.
That's
fair.
That's the mentality of a nation on display right there. I love it. I need more of that energy in my life. Vodible, hot take.
I don't think any Canadian team is making World Championship this semester. And I hate to say it this time around, but the competition at the top is too good currently. There is a chance for some teams like Laval and Valleyfield, but they have not shown it in league play yet. This season from last fall into the spring. Alberta, they're looking good now, but again, remind you, they went down to 2 teams who didn't even make CRL in the OCRS Winter Cup. They're looking okay right now, but they've only played 3 series. St. Clair might have a shot in LCQ, but LCQ, I think, is going to be the only chance for any Canadian team to make the World Championship right now. And I feel like I am also betraying, but maybe I'm just reverse jinxing here too.
Please,
but I hope they prove me wrong. Just right now, we have not seen it yet.
Can we get a lifeline call on Seb? Somewhere Seb is having a spider sense moment of a different type.
He just popped a peck when you said that.
Mercy. Whew. He might have dropped 300 pounds at the gym right there, so, but I don't know that you can do that.
Pyro's saying he's sending it to Sam. Go ahead. I hope they prove me wrong, but right now I have not seen it from these teams.
Okay. My hot take this week, I'm going to go twofold. I want to make sure that I keep it on the side of what team is going to do well, what team is not going to do well. So I do have a hot take reserved for that, but this one's more of a somber hot take. Of course, we went into this season with a couple of the broadcasts being cut, one from the A stream, one from the B stream. And my hot take, not as much a scalding hot take as you would normally expect from me, but I'm going to say it this way, and it's going to be an unpopular opinion just because it's the type of opinion you hear it and you're like, okay, yes, and I hate it. Thank you, I hate it. The two streams being cut has provided so many opportunities for team streams, for small streamers to be able to broadcast CRL matches, up-and-coming commentators. I'm not going to name any names. Vodible, thank you for what you've been doing. But giving the opportunities to so many different people who don't always get the chance to commentate CRL. If you're at all interested in commentating, now is literally one of the best times to do so. And that is a hot take, mainly because myself, everyone who wants to, who may or may not be getting paid. Wait, we get paid?
You guys are making money?
Yes. To be a part of these broadcasts, we hate it. But for the community, I feel like it has been a very good thing. And thank you to everybody who has been doing that in the community. The team members, the organizers within the collegiate programs. And of course, the broadcasters, the commentators who have been getting involved in your stream, VOD, as well as many other streams under the sun.
Shout out to Taco.
Yeah, there has been total non-stop action for CRL this season, and it's something that when all those streams come back, I hope it doesn't change. I hope we're fuming at the ears with how much we have to catch up on all the things that we have to see. Okay, hot take as far as performance goes, Akron Gold. Akron Gold have a very tough week number 2 ahead of them.
Yep.
I'm not going to include the match that is going to be on your stream, VOD, here, because I think that one could go either way. But when it comes
really
to Akron Gold versus Stockton, IRSC, and Fisher, my opinion is this. They are going to 3-0 or they are going to 0-3. So win all 3 series or they are going to lose all 3 series. And I'm hoping of all hope that has not come to fruition on the bottom half. If they end up losing 3, that throws a lot of predictions early on this podcast specifically out the window. Oof on a roof. Folks, reactions, of course. We always want to hear from you, so we are on the outset of this podcast. Make sure that you are following everyone involved today. You can follow Mitch at MitchMozey, Vodible at Vodible, both on Twitter, I believe, on Twitch as well for everybody. Yeah. Like, it's the same name. Nobody's got a, invisible hazard burrito.
Same name. I love it.
I'm going to start with Mitch. Go ahead and shout yourself out, my friend.
Oh, brother, I'm not even going to shout myself because you did a wonderful job at it. I'm going to shout out the league at Enjoy Esports
Yes.
L. Letter L.
Yes.
We don't catch L's. We only have it in the handle there. You can watch anything Collegiate Rocket League related in Spanish. We have the B stream right now. Hopefully, we can expand to the A stream. We will be streaming the Universitario Abierto, which is the Mexican Open for the Last Chance Qualifier spots. We're streaming the Last Chance Qualifier, and hopefully we get all the way to the National Championship. National Championship is going to be also in the bag. And in Spanish, you can catch us there. I've learned so much from the goats, and I think that first and foremost, you got to push the brand. And if you can do us a huge favor of following over there, because we need to grow the community. We'd love to have you, especially if you speak Spanish and can understand it, or if you just want to practice. We're having a blast. All of our production team is bilingual, and we're also in communication with Psionics constantly. So if you ever come in chat and you feel a little astray because you don't speak Spanish fluently, brother, come in. We'll welcome you with open arms. We'll teach you the tacos and the holas and the cómo estás and the bibliotecas all you want. But any and all support is greatly appreciated over there at Enjoy Esports L on social media and on Twitch, Enjoy Esports League.
Vodible, plug yourself. Let us know what's going on, and give a plug for CCRS.
Yeah, so CCRS, it is Canadian CRS on all the socials for where you can find their information. They got a Discord with a great community. They got 6-mans going on. I mean, if you are Canadian and want to be a part of that and you didn't know this is a thing, definitely recommend joining that because there are tons of schools, tons of information, whatever else you need to be a part of that community. Definitely recommend it. And they're going to have a LAN in the future potentially, so that's huge. So keep an eye out for that. Also, we'll be doing the Akron Gold versus KSU matchup in 10 minutes time on twitch.tv/Vodible with it is going to be Squid and Whoopsie casting that. So some returning casters from previous iterations of CRL. Shout out to those guys. Love them coming on. And Jesse, or JSA, Just Staying Alive, is producing it, who also does all the stuff for CCA and eFuse as well. So big shout out to him too.
Bro, it took me your speech to find the Canadian Collegiate Rocker Soccer. But by the way, golden name. I love it. It's so distinct. It took me your speech to find it. So you have no excuse, chat. Find it and follow it.
There you go.
And of course, you can join us on this podcast every week. Most likely going to be rushing the release of this one on the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and most likely the YouTube as well. We've had a couple issues on the back end, I've noticed, with frame drop. So for those of you watching live, thank you for hanging out with us this entire time, enjoying the content that has been provided. Yes, again, follow the Champ 3 podcast. It is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and right here on twitch.tv/KendoSlice in vivid blur. Next week, we're going to be looking to cover... Next week, we have covered some of the preseason predictions. We have covered a couple of regional perspectives. We want to take a closer look at the team, so you're not going to want to miss it. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Ay, 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 ay.
Oh my God!
Ay, 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 ay.
Señores, ten pipes, though.